Welcome to the Small Axe Podcast. It's your boy Nico, the multifamily family man. We are going to talk about everything regarding multifamily real estate investing. Stick with me. This podcast episode is going to be epic. Party people united, come on down, get excited. All right, it's your boy Nico. Today, I want to share 5 things that I got wrong about multifamily when I started my journey back in 2020. And I also want to share what I've learned after buying, operating, and selling nearly 200 units. Okay, so number 1 is bigger isn't always better. That was something that I struggled with in the beginning. At first, I was like, well, let me start with something small. Then there were people out there buying bigger apartment complexes doing the same thing that I was doing. And the conversation became, well, one transaction can get you 100 doors versus 10 transactions with 10 doors each. It made sense to me. And on my first deal, I did that. I went for a 194 unit property. I did it with partners. And we essentially flipped that one. We were in that with a private money loan, and we were out of it 20 months later. And although that was a great deal, it's not always the case. And bringing so much capital to the table as a syndication through raising money from investors just left it a little bit strange. It's like, what am I working for? I really didn't get much money on the GP side at all. In that particular deal, I did not participate in any acquisition fee. I didn't get much benefit from owning as a GP, and it was just work. It was extra work for me. Now, for me personally, I love that because I was able to learn from behind the scenes. And that was one of the things that I really challenged myself to do within the first couple of years of me starting my journey, because it was important to me. And everybody was talking about it back then. Just go bigger. One transaction, 150 units. One transaction, 200 units. And I get it. The problem is that bigger properties come with bigger problems. More employees, more investors, more on the line, more at stake, a bigger capital raise. The banks are going to look at you very differently as an operator. More moving parts. There's more risk involved for sure. Now, a great 12 unit, 10 unit can be a much better investment than a mediocre 100 unit. Now, the 100 unit has its benefits as well, but we also have to take into consideration, for me personally, it's, well, do I want to raise that much capital? Number one, do I want to bring on so many investors and then manage them? Do I want to have a larger team and manage that team? Even if that deal is a pretty good deal, there's going to be more work and more headache involved with it for sure. Now, I'm not saying that owning 10 units is comparable or a better idea, but I'm saying that there is value to be had by getting a 12 unit or 10 unit deal. Maybe you can buy a 10 unit by yourself, or with a couple of very close partners that you're going to learn and grow with. So instead of thinking in terms of a number of doors at this point, I think of, does it cash flow? Is the location good? Is the debt manageable? Can it be fixed on this property? Does the business plan that I'm proposing make sense? Does the amount of investors that I need to bring on make sense? The amount of partners, does all that make sense? The number of units doesn't automatically make a deal good. Okay. And yes, the whole idea about multifamily is economies of scale, right? I get it. Because investing in single family and duplexes or even quads is very different than investing in commercial multifamily, 5 units and up. In the sense that the more units you have, obviously the economies of scale kick in, and you can save some money here and there and potentially operate better. But that also means that you have to get the same price per door or a better price per door at that bigger unit count. But also, what happens if you're underwater with your mortgage payments on a 10 unit compared to a 100 unit? You might be in real big trouble if you have to come out of pocket for a 100 unit deal. You might actually end up foreclosing. Just be careful. So maybe what we need to think about is location, number of partners, types of partners that you're going to get on the deal, the amount of down payment. Is it manageable? Is it fitting your risk criteria as well? And yeah, 10 units, okay, 1 unit vacant is 90% occupied, where 1 unit vacant at a 100 unit apartment complex is still 99% occupied. I get it, but it still beats single family, whereas one vacancy is 100% vacant. Okay. The second thing I want to talk about is cash flow and how cash flow doesn't solve everything. And this one really got me in the beginning. I used to think that cash flow was the answer to every problem. If the property made money, everything is fine. But that's not always true. You can have cash flow, but still have deferred maintenance, bad debt, partner issues, financing issues, insurance problems, CapEx surprises. Yeah, cash flow is important. I love it. I think it's definitely necessary. And I preach all the time, if the property doesn't cash flow, then you got to look somewhere else because you don't want to be coming out of pocket. But liquidity and reserves are actually very important too. So this is something that I overlooked. Although thankfully on my first few deals, I had an excellent amount of liquidity and reserves in the bank post closing. And I didn't even realize the benefit of that until all these CapEx surprises came up, all of these issues. There were so many more than I anticipated. And this is going to happen regardless of the vintage, regardless of the location, regardless of the tenant class. This is going to happen. You're going to have unexpected surprises. For example, we had septic tanks crap out on us. We had leach fields crap out on us. We had cast iron plumbing break, HVACs go out earlier or sooner than expected, or just not working well and needing constant maintenance, right? So there's always something that's going to happen, leaks in units, shower pans breaking, right? So there's always something that's going to happen. And you need to be prepared for that. And now my thought process is, okay, instead of utilizing cash flow to fix everything, you should have money in reserve. I like to have at least 3 months of operating expenses in reserves. This will absolutely help you. So the point is this, guys, we don't want to be owning a property that we're going to have to put money into. You're owning a business. Remember that. And that business should pay for itself. Yeah, you might not get paid, which I don't get paid. I'm clear on that. And all my listeners know that. But also, you want the business to pay for itself. And if the business can maintain itself and you can survive down cycles like what we're in today, you will come out the other end successful. And that's where I'm at right now. Jumping on now to number 3, partners don't necessarily make things easier. This one's a little bit dicey. And yes, partnerships are tricky. And we have to understand that. Not too many people like talking about it, but partnerships are tricky. And I originally thought that bringing on more partners might make things a bit easier, where we could distribute the jobs, distribute the tasks, distribute the workload. You can also benefit by bringing on more experience, more money, more connections. And sometimes, and a lot of times that is true. But every partner that you bring into your deals is going to add some level of complexity to what you're working on. You might have different goals, and goals change, and people's lives and circumstances change. Okay. Different risk tolerance as well. Some people might be extremely risk averse, and some people might be gung ho. And it's hard to really understand that when you've never done a deal with somebody before until you're actually in the trenches with them. You might have different communication styles. So the best partnerships that I've had weren't successful because everybody just agreed on everything, right? I get it. We want to have some sort of differing of opinions, some sort of different voices speaking up. But what I've found to be most important in a partnership is that everybody can handle a disagreement professionally and come to resolutions and solutions and move forward. If we get stuck on nitpicking and hammering each other, your business will suffer. So a mediocre deal with great partners can certainly beat a great deal with bad partners. And again, it's hard to know when you're getting a good or a bad partner. You might think working with your brother or sister, your mom or your dad, or somebody you've grew up with is going to be an excellent idea until you actually do business with them. And then there's life circumstances that happen with you or them, and you need changes to the operating agreement or changes to who's doing X, Y, and Z work. And then somebody doesn't show up to do their work and somebody drops the ball here and issues arise. So you got to be careful. And for me personally, I've been working with different teams now for 6+ years, and I'm honing that team in and dialing it in, and it's a process. So you're just going to have to go through the steps yourself. So don't be afraid to get into partnerships. I think there's so many benefits to it, and it's necessary to spread risk, in my opinion, and also just to have capital, because I can't do multi-million-dollar deals on my own, right? So you want partners as well, but you want people that are going to have the same vision as you, the same goals as you, the same drive, the same motivation, and a long-term outlook, because real estate takes a long time. All right. Now let's jump into number 4. So raising capital, guys, this does not get easier. Originally, I thought raising capital would just get easier after the first one. And the first one was grueling. It was a $250,000 raise that I did. I tried to do 500. I ended up with 250 or a little less. It was crazy. And after that first raise, I was like, okay, the next raise will be okay because people are still investing. People want to invest with me. They see that I have a good deal. They see that I'm actually very committed to this game, very involved, constantly posting on social media, et cetera, but it doesn't really help. So after that first raise with the 194 unit property in Ohio, where I did it as a co-sponsorship, I brought in only 250,000 or so. My next deal was my own deal, a 44 unit deal where I had to compile a team. I had to bring in people to help with capital, et cetera. And it was nuts. It was a $2.6 million raise, more or less. And I really struggled. It was nights of sleeplessness, meditation, trying to get my head right, trying to stay sane, trying to stay motivated. I was terrified every single day that I wasn't going to make it happen. I had a lot of people's money on the line. We went hard with a lot of money, and somehow it all came together. It was messy, it was ugly and crazy. The next opportunity was fairly easy, a 500,000 or so dollar raise. The one after that was an $800,000 raise, and it was okay, but none of the raises were easy. Then we did a $150,000 JV, and that was grueling. And then I did a $250,000 syndication, which was absolutely insanely terrible. Okay. So after all of those raises, things did not get easier for me. And as a matter of fact, they got a lot harder. So what I realized was it's not necessarily me so much as the market, the investor's appetite, who they're looking to invest with, et cetera. Even though I feel like I've kind of proven myself a little bit as a decent operator, I am not up to par with people like, let's say, Ken McElroy, right? It's just not. I'm just not there yet. Maybe one day I will be. I hope to be. And then again, we are in a down cycle, which definitely affects things as well. And every market cycle is different. Every location is different. You still need to know, like, and trust the operator. I'd still need to gain trust from my listeners, from my community. I still need to communicate regularly with them. I still need credibility. I still need proof of concept, right? I have to show people what I can do, and I'm doing my best. So the difference today is that it is not easier, okay? But the difference is that I am getting a little bit more comfortable with just flat out asking, hey, do you want to invest in this? Do you like this deal? And how I approach people. Instead of me throwing crazy numbers at people, I talk to them about, first of all, are they interested in investing? Then I move on to talking about the market that I'm looking at, then the deal itself and what I've done in the past, et cetera. And then if they want to learn more, what I do is I'll hop on a call with them and maybe even pass them the underwriting and go through a lot of things with them when they're ready. But you don't want to scare somebody away with looking at a crazy spreadsheet right off the bat. And number 5, this might be my biggest lesson. Good deals don't stay good by themselves. When I started, I thought that buying the deal was the hard part. Now, I realize that buying the deal is just the beginning. Even though getting a deal closed for me is complete craziness, I thought that was it. I thought I was good. I thought I could relax and chill and watch the mailbox money come in, but it is not even close. You still have to operate. You still have to manage expenses, handle maintenance. You still have to navigate financing issues, new financing, refinancing, selling. When is our loan due? Work with residents, adapt when the market changes, deal with partners, deal with investors, make everybody happy, deal with property management issues, direct them properly. The minute you stop paying attention to your deal, that's when things start going wrong. And sometimes a struggling deal can become great if you just manage it properly, put a lot of focus into it, feed it, water it, just like growing a plant, just like a baby, help it out. You have to be there. You can't just be an absentee landlord. It will not work. Okay, my people. So if you are new to multifamily, understand this. You don't have to avoid mistakes. Mistakes are natural, they're normal, they're actually good for growth. I love mistakes. You're going to make them. And I certainly did, and I certainly will continue to make mistakes. But the goal here for you, for me, for all of us as multifamily owners and operators is to survive those deals, to survive those mistakes, to learn from them, to grow, and to keep moving forward. because most of what I know today came from things that I got wrong. And that education is crucial. And thankfully, I'm still here to tell these stories because my mistakes were not so critical. And for that, I feel blessed. Have a great week. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Small Acts podcast. Your attention truly means the world to me. Please leave a rating and write a review. Also, share this episode with somebody that you think could get value from it. Remember, it only takes a small act to build a lasting empire. So get out there and start building your own.